saying that, I guess that's my way of being cathartic, right? Because no matter being a journalist, I'm still a human being. I know people who are on Medicaid, Medicare. I know people who are on assistance. I know migrants in this community. I know everyone from every level. And they're talking about the hurt. And I'm going to give you a rundown from what I've understood from the hurt and the pain. Now, mind you, there are going to be tax breaks. They codified tax breaks for the wealthy. They codified tax breaks for the wealthy, but they're taking away money for SNAP. They're taking away money for Medicaid and Medicare. Now, 17 million Americans are going to lose health care. Those who are also connected to the Affordable Care Act, ACA, better known as Obamacare, are also going to be impacted. And today, don't forget, our special guest is someone dear to my heart. I knew him before he was governor of the state of Maryland. Wes Moore will be joining us very soon. The governor of the state of Maryland. He's going to talk about this and so much more. We got him for a half an hour, guys. But listen, here's what we're talking about. This is the breakdown from Democrats, okay? They're saying the 17 million Americans will be losing health care. In the state of Alabama, sweet home Alabama, they're going to lose 219,000 people. Hello, everyone. We're back. I don't know what happened. Don't ask, but I don't know what happened, but I can't see a thing, but I'm still going to talk. I understand everything is working. My screen is black, but we are back. And I hope you can see me, but I can't see everyone. But we had some kind of power outage. I'm wondering if they're the gremlins here because we are talking real business. So here's what it is, breaking down the 17 million Americans losing healthcare. In the state of Alabama, as I said before, sweet home Alabama, over 219,000 people will lose health care. Let's go down to the state of Maryland, where I currently reside, and the governor of Maryland will be on with us. According to Democrats, in the state of Maryland, 245,000 Almost 246,000 people will lose health care. Let's go to North Carolina. Oh my gosh, the number is over 651,000 people will lose health care. In the state of New York, over 1 million people will lose health care. In Texas, 1.6 million will lose health care. In Massachusetts, 326,000 people will lose health care. I mean, every state is going to be hit by numbers of people who are going to lose health care. Now, one of the smallest numbers I've seen on this list, Wyoming, 20,000 people. But no matter how small or how big, this is a big loss for people who need. There's also insurance that people need every day that deals with what do you call it? Hearing aids and all those things that Medicaid and Medicare take care of. And then we have SNAP that's gone. But guess what? This HR1 that will be signed by the president tomorrow at the White House, this big, beautiful bill that they call it, Democrats call it the big, ugly bill, this bill that will be signed by the president, guess what it does do? It does indeed give us a border wall that's paid for. But I thought in the first term of Donald Trump, when he was running for president, Mexico was going to pay for the wall. Remember that? And it also makes people work. There is a work requirement in this HR1 program for Medicaid. And remember, people who are on Medicaid, the reason why they're on Medicaid is because they don't have the insurance that they need because they're working these jobs trying to make ends meet. They're working many jobs just trying to make one income, and they're on Medicaid. So they are working, but they're not getting the supplements. But I just want to just put that out there first before we bring on the governor. And team, do we have the governor? Is he ready? We're going through technical difficulties to get today, but we're going to bring this out to you because this is important. Is the governor ready, guys? Oh, I hear you. I can't see your wonderful face. Hello,
Well, I
sir.
can see yours. I can see your beautiful face, and it is good. It is good to see you. You are a ray of light that we need right now.
Sir, I watched this morning. Did you watch this morning? I know you get up early. Your regiment is you're an old Army guy, right?
Right.
A veteran, and you get up early. You do your calisthenics, and you do what you have to do to prepare for the day. Did you watch Hakeem Jeffries this morning?
I did. I was up early this morning. I watched a part of Leader Jeffries, and but importantly, I listened,
Hmm.
and he was telling the stories of people who are going to be impacted by this.
Yeah.
And it was very important because it's exactly what we know and exactly what we've seen here in Maryland. Where when people talk about what do they call this thing, the big beautiful bill, the big ugly bill, honestly, I just call it the greed bill,
Mm.
because this bill is about greed. That's all it is. This bill is about how they have turned around and offered a dream to the wealthiest people in this country, and they have offered a nightmare to the working families inside this country. Where when we talk about the real stories, I'm talking about the real stories like people, who I know in the Eastern Shore,
Yeah.
where, we were just out in the Eastern Shore and announcing and talking about we just made historic investments in rural healthcare in the state of Maryland because our rural areas have been so neglected in the state of Maryland. And so we just made historic investments in rural healthcare, literally generational investments, new hospitals, et cetera. But the reality is that through this bill, that rural healthcare in Maryland is about to lose $250 million. That's real numbers. That's real impacts and real lives. We're talking about the folks in our senior our senior communities, like the one I just visited a few nights ago over
Yeah.
in Montgomery County, who were now watching how that about a fourth of all people in our state are receiving Medicaid. That's how they get their health care.
Yeah.
And that is now about to get hacked and slashed. That, when you were talking before, April, about work requirements, let's be clear. The vast majority of people who are on Medicaid are working, right?
That part.
The
Say it
vast
again,
majority of
Governor.
people on Medicaid, they are working. So this idea that these are just like takers is not just patently false. It's just deeply offensive. When you're talking about people who are receiving Medicaid, oftentimes you're talking about seniors. Oftentimes you're talking about, as we call the Alice population, the people who are working. and who are still living below the poverty line. You're talking about people with disabilities. You're talking about seniors, right? And when people say that we want people to work to qualify, do you know what they're also talking about? Because they've increased the age of quote unquote qualification, you're now telling people who are retired that if you want benefits, you must go back to work. Like this is such a heartless bill that was passed.
And as you say, it's a heartless bill. They have slashed $930 billion from Medicaid. $930 billion from Medicaid. And the governor was just saying that there are going to be some rural communities in his state that will lose healthcare and hospitals as well. Are you bracing for this? What are your health officials saying as it relates to these cuts? And when do you expect to see an impact?
I mean, we're already seeing impacts because right now, even if you have people who are saying, well, there's a staggering that happens in some of these cuts, that we don't prepare in a staggering fashion. People have to start preparing now. And the truth is that Maryland and no other state in this country has the resources to be able to make up for the hole that the federal government has just put this entire country in, where we have known that the relationship between the federal government and our states has been severed with the introduction of the Trump-Vance administration. But what this bill represents is it's not even just about the relationship between the federal government and our states. This is about the relationship between the federal government and its people. That relationship has now been severed. And so for all of us, for every single state, Maryland and every other state, we are now having to find ways of adapting to a world where none of us have the resources, none of us have the balance sheets to make up for the hole that the federal government has just put its citizens in.
So another negative from HR 1 that the president is going to sign in the Oval Office or somewhere on the White House campus tomorrow on the 4th of July. SNAP, okay? SNAP is food assistance, nutrition assistance, and it's minus $285 billion with a B dollars. $1 billion minus. That's the first thing to go. In this big, beautiful bill that they call it, right after the table of contents, the 13 pages of table of contents was the cut to food programs. Right after, guys. And you hear the governor talking about the fact that how can states make up this hole? Now, Governor, I want to ask you about this hole because this is a party, the Republican Party, that believes in states' rights. It believes everything should be about the state, not necessarily the federal government. But how do you marry this when you're saying you have a hole, you can't make up this hole, this deficit, I guess you're saying, and then states' rights? How do you marry this?
You can't. Just like you can't marry the idea that, the person who cast the deciding vote for this on the Senate side was Vice President J.D. Vance, a person who, became known for talking about how his mama was receiving assistance that her grandson just now voted to cut. You cannot square this circle. And they did this knowing that that the states could not take this on. They did this knowing that our states do not have the resources, that when these systems were built, when you look at how Medicaid and food assistance, et cetera, when they were built with a shared responsibility that was then going to take place between making sure that the federal government and our states are working collectively to be able to protect our people. And they just have basically said, that's not going to happen. That, I say, in the state of Maryland, we believe in an ethos that we leave no one behind. That the Trump-Vance administration, their ethos is you're on your own. And it's just a very different philosophy in the way we talk about supporting our people. But they made this decision knowing that no states can be able to cover up for the fact that the federal government has just completely severed their ties between the people that they're supposed to serve.
I'm so glad you brought up the fact that J.D. Vance has a mama or had a mama, and that mama was in Ohio and the poorest parts of Kentucky, right? Sure. Appalachia. Guys, there's a movie made about it. He's got a book about it. The poorest people in this nation are white Americans in Appalachia, in Kentucky. And these are the people. Let me go right here to my little sheet. Let's go to Kentucky. Kentucky, 184,000 plus will be losing health care. And Appalachia is right up in there. Okay. So that's his community,
Exactly.
the Hill people. And he voted against his own people. Now, Governor, I want to ask you something before we go to the chats. People are really excited. Guys, talk about it. We're hearing you, we're watching you, and I'm going to read some of these comments. But Governor, I want to ask you something. In HR1, is there any money towards the bridge that collapsed in the state of Maryland that you got running? You prevented the catastrophe of the supply chain chink because you moved that fast so we can open up the port of Baltimore. Is there any money in this HR1 to help bridge that gap that the bridge collapse created?
Yeah, no, thank you. And I'm still so proud of our state. Our state, really put on a case study on how you respond in moments of crisis and making sure that we were going to do everything we said in that first morning, which was make sure that those 6 families who lost people that night, that they were cared for, protected, and got the closure that they needed, that we were going to support all those port workers and all the small businesses who supported them, that we were going to make sure we got that port, got the port of Baltimore reopened. They told us it would take 11 months. We got it done in 11 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're thankful to not this Congress, but we're thankful to the last Congress, and we're thankful to not this administration, but the last administration for the fact that we received 100% bridge financing. And so we very much plan on getting that project done with the same, pride for the American people that they saw in the way that we've accomplished all of our other tasks, that we plan on doing the same thing with this one. But there's nothing in there there's nothing in HR1 for the bridge, but that's thankfully because that was already put into law before by the prior administration.
Guys, HR1, the vote was 218 to 214 with 2 Republicans voting not to have this passed. And then remember, we lost 3 Democrats who could have voted. They passed away. So the deaths also contributed to this Republican win. Now, I'm gonna right, and I'm gonna go to the comments. Guys, please comment. I'm gonna start with one, and I know I'm gonna start with one, and you're gonna be mad at me. Wes Moore for president! Exclamation! 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 Here's another one. They want us poor, so we are buried in debt. They don't believe in states' rights. It's just a tactic. Are they canceling elections in North Carolina? Do you know anything about that, sir?
No, I don't, but I want people to just hear me, please hear me loud and clear on this. Elections have consequences, guys.
Mm.
Elections have consequences. The people who sit in these seats, it matters. And when you're in a voting booth, when you are sitting there and making a decision whether to vote or not to vote, or if you go to the voting booth, who are you going to vote for? Really think to yourself, at the end of the day, is this person thinking about me and my family?
Yeah.
Is this person really thinking about my future and my legacy?
Yeah.
Is this person in this for the right reasons? Because let's be clear, what we are seeing here is that for this bill, HR1 represents the largest consolidation of wealth in our nation's history. What this bill represents is we are talking about cutting students, children off of healthcare. We're talking about making seniors go back to work if they want to get their healthcare coverage. We are now talking about situations where individuals with disabilities are now watching their incomes and their supports cut. We are watching how we just made college more expensive for students and working families, that this bill proposes literally an existential threat to our historically Black colleges and universities. And why are we doing it? It's so that the wealthiest people in this country can get a tax cut. That's what this is about. That with this bill, we have just made our country less safe, less healthy, and more debt-ridden. Because, by the way, for all these deficit hawks, and I cannot wait to see how these folks, all these deficit hawks who talk about tax and spend, we need to cut the deficit. I cannot wait for these folks to be held to account in the voting booth, because the bill that they just voted for just added close to $4 trillion to our national debt, which we are going to ask our children and grandchildren to pay for. And
I
so please know elections have consequences.
And I also understand, small business is the engine of this nation. It's not corporations, it's small business.
That's
I
right.
understand there's also an impact on small businesses. Am I correct?
That's
And the
100%
access to capital.
That's 100% correct. That this was a larger giveaway to larger corporations, multi-state and multinational actors, and our small businesses who really make up the lion's share of economic growth inside of our country and a lion's share of economic growth in the state of Maryland. This is not a bill for you.
Wow. Guys, again, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill, according to Republicans. Democrats are saying it's the big, ugly bill. The minority leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, spoke for a historic 8 hours and 44 minutes this morning. The governor said that he watched a portion of, and he basically summed it up. Hell no. Vote, hell no. Hell no. Vote, hell no. Well, hell no. That's just my version. Hell no. But anyway, I want to play a little bit of Hakeem Jeffries talking about this moment in history and leadership and voting. Hell no.
Of several reasons why House Democrats are a hell no on this legislation. We were a hell no last week, a hell no this week, a hell no yesterday, a hell no today, and will continue to be a hell no on this effort to hurt the American people.
Whew. Now let's go to the opposing party and the opposing mindset from the Republicans with House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, with one big, beautiful bill, we are going to make this country stronger, safer, and more prosperous than ever before. And every American is going to benefit from that.
Whew. Sir, summing it all up.
What they did with this bill, they have just made this country less safe, less healthy, and more debt-ridden. What they have done with this bill is they have just looked the vast majority of the American people in the eye and said, you're on your own. That's what this bill does.
You're on your own. That's some tough words to think about. No safety net, no nothing. You're on your own. You can walk into a hole. We won't come and get you. That's some tough stuff right there.
And that we've lied to you. Is that we told the American people, listen, if you play by the rules, if you are willing to work hard, if you're willing to sacrifice for your families, just know that this is a country that will reward that this is a country that will support that this is a country that believes that people should be able to age in dignity and age in place. This is a country that believes that our students should have the opportunity to be able to gain educations that can prepare them for this 21st century and beyond. That this is a country that believes in supporting our veterans when they come back home, that this is a country that believes that healthcare should be a right and not a privilege, that this is a country that believes that we are going to support you no matter what zip code that you live in, no matter what family you come up in, no matter your history, that this is a country that will support you, that we told people that they will be supported. And now we are turning around and telling them that we lied. You are on your own. And for what? So we could give people who have the most and take from those who have the least. This is an absolute betrayal of a bill.
So I hear your passion. You're impassioned because you are someone, you won't say it, and you have said it before though, but you've been every person. You came through a migrant family. You've had your bouts with law. You've had with the law in Maryland. You've been every person. You went to the military. You are every person in this moment. And I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about the inhumanity demand from that detention center in Florida that's got all the gators around it? I don't even want to mention the name. We're not mentioning the name because it's very offensive to our brothers and sisters of the Jewish community, right? And our cousins in the Jewish community. And then also, you're also shouldering some other things, these DOGE cuts in Maryland. Um, what does all of this feel like, smell like, taste like, and look like for you right now?
You know, I think about why we got in this work in the first place. Where you know, I to your point, April. I mean, I don't come from a political family or a political background. I'd never run for office for my life
Mm-mm.
before decided to run for governor. And the people of the state gave me the honor of being the 63rd governor, despite never having run for office a day in my life. And I always promised that I was never going to forget who sent me there. It wasn't a party. In fact, the party backed other people, right? It wasn't the powers that be. The only reason I'm the governor of the state of Maryland is because the people decided that that's what was going to happen in our state. And with everything that we've tried to do, we've tried to make sure that we kept the people first inside of our work. That when we came on board and we said, listen, we're going to focus on making sure we can get more people employed. And we made historic investments in apprenticeship programs and trade programs, and saying that even if you don't have a 4-year degree, that we still want to give you a pathway to long-term economic growth and success. That we created the first ever, first state in the country that now has a service year option for all of our high school graduates, giving our high school graduates, regardless of their path or their pathway, a chance to be able to enter into the workforce and do something that can serve their fellow citizens. That we did the largest mass pardons in the history of the United States of America, giving 175,000 misdemeanor cannabis convictions and wiping them off in a stroke of a pen to allow people back into a workforce, and just followed up with an additional 7,000 pardons, another one of the largest mass pardons in our nation's history, knowing that every sentence shouldn't be a life sentence. Everything that we have done has been trying to focus on the people and to try to give them more pathways and opportunities. Try to give them a chance at a second chance, like the ones I got.
Yeah.
And now here we are, watching how, the same way that we've said that we have to use policies to fix brokenness, it's because policies have created the brokenness. And now we are watching a whole nother level of policies that are once again showing people the history that we have already known far too often. That for many of us, we don't come from families that are used to making the policies. We come from families that are used to suffering the consequences of them.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have a whole nother generation of people who are suffering the consequences of the policies that this Trump-Vance administration is now putting upon us. But the thing that we know is this, is even in a moment like this, where we have just watched depravity in front of our eyes, this is not a time for us to feel powerless, though.
Mm.
This is a time for us to understand our own power. And I can tell you right now, to all the people of the state of Maryland are about to remember that you have a governor, and you have leaders in our state, and you have citizens of our state who will not cower, and who will not bend a knee, and who will use every tool at our disposal to make sure that we honor the promise that we made to the people who actually put us here in the first place, and not use the positions that we are in to actually hurt people.
And we got a hard out right now, but I want this last question. I'm going to let you go. And I thank you always for supporting me and being my friend. Yes, I'm his friend. He's my friend. It's all
Amen.
good. But
and
listen,
I'm proud of you, and our state is proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm so proud of you too. And he comes from great stock. That bloodline and that wife, it's amazing. That's all I'm gonna say. But these DOGE cuts to Maryland.
Oh yeah.
In September, we're expecting to see the unemployment numbers explode, because a lot of these people who took the what do you call it? The
buyout.
The buyouts. Yes, they took the buyouts. They wound up taking the buyouts, and then they will officially be on the unemployment rolls in September. So it's kind of like smoke and mirrors. Are you expecting your numbers to explode then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of how our state has handled because you're right, April. I mean, no state has a greater level of exposure to these DOGE cuts than Maryland.
Yeah.
I've got over 260,000 federal employees in the state of Maryland. You know, we have over 160,000 federal jobs in the state of Maryland, and so we knew that the what the Trump Vance administration was doing to us, these were not glancing blows. These were direct shots
Yes.
at me and our state, and I get it. And so one thing that we have done is there is no state that's been more aggressive to be able to make sure we're supporting our federal workers, to include things like, we started something called the Feds to Eds, where we know in Maryland we have a shortage of educators in the state of Maryland. And so we've gone to our federal employees who now have been, in some cases, in cases either arbitrarily or illegally laid off, and said, like, we want to get you inside of our classrooms. If you are capable and willing and interested, we will get you trained up. We will get you certified. We will reduce the regulatory red tape. We will get you inside of our classrooms. And the thing that we have found out is this: in these first months, we have now seen how around 10% of our teacher shortage in the state of Maryland has been filled by who? By federal employees who said, I will come teach. I will raise my hand. Maryland helped to lead the charge on that. And so we're seeing how we've been able to, take on many of our federal workers in state roles and in the private sector because there's so much talent here, and we want to make sure that their talent is used. We've seen how we have actually added more jobs in the first 2.5 years of my administration than my predecessor added in 8 years. We've added nearly 100,000 new jobs in the state of Maryland. And by the way, 86% of those new jobs are in the private sector. So the private sector is helping to lead the charge and helping to show that right now, the unemployment rate in the state of Maryland is 3.2%, more than a full point lower than the national average. And so Maryland is helping to lead the national charge in terms of job growth right now. So you are absolutely right. What we're seeing of our federal workers, these are direct shots. And we know that the numbers of people that they're laying off, it is a staggering amount of people that will have long-term implications. But the thing that we know is there is no state in the country that is moving more aggressively to make sure that our federal workers are protected and taken care of than the state of Maryland. And that's something we're very proud of.
Mr. Governor, thank you so much for joining me and helping me sip my tea. You knocked the pot over. We spilled some tea today. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining us today. And we'll talk to you soon. And I know you got to go, but thank you so much for spending some time with your friend.
God bless you. And thank you so much. And happy 4th to everybody.
Happy 4th to you, sir. Thank you. Guys, you just heard from Maryland's governor. Wow. In the midst of this moment where you have one half of the nation saying, oh, this is great, and the other half still saying, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. As we look into Independence Day, the 4th of July, I'm going to show you what my Independence Day looks like. This is my Independence Day, guys. This is what my Independence Day looks like. I found these somewhere in my house. And this is also what my independence looks like. This $20 bill that we haven't seen yet, Harriet Tubman. That's what my independence looks like. So I want to also in this moment go back to the chat because we hear you here. We hear you here. Some cuts don't start until after the midterm in 2026. Why did they do that? You know why they did that, to cushion it so that they don't feel the hurt in the elections. Republicans voted against their constituents. If the federal government no longer works for us, why are we paying federal taxes? Every community in the nation needs billboards slamming the bill. They are further militarizing ICE. I'm worried this administration will do something to assure the 2026 elections are canceled. Look at all those happy, rich folks. I'm not going to say the word before folks. They are so disrespectful with our money. I need some tea. Oh yeah, you know my tea today. This is coming. I have what is it? Lemon balm, and I have dandelion tea today. I'm so into like the healthy teas. I'm telling you, the lemon balm has calmed me. We've had technical difficulties. This has been a crazy day. You hear me screaming, hell no, hell no. But you know, that's what it is. This is my tea today. And my husband did this cup, the tea for April, the tea with April. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends to join in. Now, in this moment, I want you guys to realize we want you to come back. This is every Thursday. Subscriptions are important as well. So subscribe to the Contrarian and to me, the Tea with April, so we can continue to move this forward. But also, we're taking messages from you guys. We're taking messages. Take a listen and take a look. So okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to show the messages next week. We're having technical difficulties. I don't know if it's the holiday gremlins or what, but either way, we are so happy that we are able to accept messages, and we are going to post that so you can give us your messages. You will be heard. Your question will be heard, but still always continue to chat with us. We want your voice to be heard. Everyone needs to be seen and heard in this moment, particularly when you feel like you've lost your rights, everything that you paid into. Like the governor said, you know, there's a hole to make up. The states have to make up a hole, and you're kind of left alone. So we're here for you. You're not alone with us, because your voice will be heard. You are heard and you are seen. That's important. I want to thank all of you right now for joining us. I want to thank the governor of the state of Maryland for joining us for the Tea with April. The Tea with April every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we're going to have some guests that are going to knock the pot over. We're going to spill some more tea. It's so exciting to be able to talk to you and to be able to give you information and news that you can use. And with that said, I want to thank you. I will see you next Thursday at 5 p.m. Write it down. Next Thursday at 5 p.m. Tell all your friends, tell all your family, join in. This is all about you. Talk to you soon. Be well. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. Happy 4th.